Can you hear me? Hang on. I can't see if any. What's up? I apparently have lost the ability to stream off of my cell phone, which has created it's made me mentally retarded because I'm not. I was actually blessed. Brother in Christ sent me a computer, and then checked that out. A few days later, I go to stream something, and you can't on your phone anymore unless you have 1,000 subscribers. So anyway, that's not the point. I want to talk about a couple reality breakdowns that don't seem to make sense, but I'm gonna connect some dots. About a month ago, I called in to Scarab, and I was saying something about deja vu. And this is important. Here's the thing: somebody sent me a message. They were upset about something, and word for word, I noticed that they had told me something almost word for word, exactly, like a year and a day to the date. This stream has nothing to do. I couldn't think of a name, so I don't know. I'm sure the price of butter's fine, Dusty. But so anyway, I have this deja vu moment where but I see it at work, and I'm looking. I'm like, you're saying the same thing. And then I go home and I'm reading it again. So I saw it at 2 different times on the same day. And then that understanding of the realization of the details of it happening exactly that way before. And then I went back to look for it, and none of that stuff was there. And there's something to deja vu that I'm trying to include in this story that I'm writing. Now, the actual topic that I'm going to talk about, it's going to be on the cusp. I'm sure. Yeah, you don't need to stock up on butter, but it's going to sound like it's on the cusp of New Age philosophy. However, I think that it's exactly the opposite. That this is where the idea comes from. I've been preparing a video that gets into the topic of this book that I want to write, and it's pretty. The video kind of fell apart. I'm sure that I'll still when I get done editing it, but I want to include some of the ideas of the brainstorming that I was going through. I'm not used to this software yet, and so I'm not going to try and make a presentation. If you'd like to look up these things for yourself, I don't want to touch anything because I'm gonna. Anyway. I got learning to do. There was a game when I was a kid, and it was called Myst. It was a PC game, and the concept, it was one of the first of its kind in the mid 90s. But the concept of it was you're walking through this world, and you solve these puzzles. Now there are these other 2 opposing characters that seem to be trapped in a different world. But you find pages to this book and bring it to them, and they can send you messages. And you decide which one you're going to side with. There's a darker, colder character who seems kind of evil, but there's like a trade-off. He's very intelligent, and it's like you can choose to help this guy out because you're going to get something out of it. And there's a much nicer one, but there still seems to be something wrong there. And he's a lot nicer and friendlier, but you can just tell there's also something not quite right about this. And the reason I'm explaining this game is because it kind of popped up in my head when I decided to start on this project that I'm going to write. In any way, so as you get further in the game, you realize that there are these people that have the power to write books and enter into a world. And these 2 opposing other characters are trapped in different worlds, and they're blaming each other for it. But all that popped back up when I decided to do this retelling of the story of Paul. And the basic concept is this, which I've said before. It's a disguised retelling of the story of Paul, It starts out, he's already on the boat. It's like a prison ship somewhere in the Gulf. I think I would include the Noahide laws in it. It doesn't really explain why he's on the ship. The purpose of writing this is to disguise it so that if the reader wasn't a Christian, they wouldn't be immediately turned off by it. They would be intrigued by the characters, and if they weren't familiar with the Bible, they wouldn't pick up on what's going on until the end. And at that point, you're already kind of immersed yourself in that world, and you got to find out how it ends. And so using excuse me, using something like a UN sanction or something, this person's committed a crime, and that's how it starts out, and then it keeps going back to his past whenever he was a Pharisee, probably in the lower level of the Masons or something. The guy was accepted by people and politicians and people, high up in the police force. When he's writing to, say, the city of Corinth, it would be more like Amsterdam because of the red light district. And if you understand what Corinth was back then, it's just a representation of it in these times. And so anyway, as I'm going through this and beginning to write the concepts of it, you really do kind of dive off into a world. When you read a book, when you watch a movie, like The Lord of the Rings was a movie, but you see the world that was written, slight changes. The director gets to create that whole universe. And so the Mist thing popped up to me, and it reminded me, because of the people in that game that could create their own worlds and go to them. As you're developing characters, excuse me, I'm having some. As you're developing characters, you just kind of fall off into that world. You really think about everything about them. I've mentioned before Priscilla and Aquila. Like, you really have to understand who they are as people to build it and to make it make sense. And so you kind of just, using your imagination, fall off into that world. And so the point that I'm getting at, I'm going to tie in the deja vu thing into it. It makes sense to me on how to, in the book, I don't want to ruin that for everybody. But a light bulb went off. And as I'm going through this, as I'm working on this video that I haven't released yet, the Affected Collective video, as I mentioned in the previous video, it popped up in my head because I remembered her talking about Edgar Allan Poe. And the guys that wrote the Titan, the sinking of the Titan, one of them actually died on the Titanic. Now, these men didn't write that. They wrote it, but they didn't create something that was going to happen. They didn't manifest their own reality. I'll wait. However, them tapping into a sort of knowing, even subconsciously, I think is more quite possible. And I think that there is a new age thing disguised to where people can see the evidence of something, but it's being corrupted by information fed to them, and they think that they can create their own, they can just manifest whatever, win, the lottery or whatever it is, the secret philosophy. This is what I believe, and what I was tapping into the whole person writing a book is that if we are truly made in God's image, I think that there is something that we don't create it. I don't want this to be misrepresented as me saying that you can create something. That's not it. As a matter of fact, I've talked a lot about people around me sort of having just an understanding. They access to hidden knowledge and things that they shouldn't know about. Some of it is demonic manifestation. Another thing is people willingly working with something. But I think that they lose whatever creative ability that we may have been given that we're not supposed to. It's like here's what I'm trying to get at, and it's really hard to put into words to make people understand. if we're made in God's image, it's quite possible that there's something to us that helps to what. I'm sorry, I'm having so much trouble putting this out, and I'm struggling. Anyway, for instance, if chemtrails, we know that they're up there. They seem to be manipulating the weather. But then somebody puts out a video saying it's all, poison, and they're killing us, and they're killing us. There is a fear propaganda, and trying to get people to do the work for people. I was listening to Awaken today, and he was talking about the drills being done on certain events. He mentioned it briefly, and I was thinking about that. Why is it at certain events there's always a drill being done, and then it turns into the real thing, and then it's reported on widely and all that? What is even the purpose of doing a drill and then having a national event to something? It seems like some sort of ritual to me. And if you can get people to believe that something has become, it's like a spell being cast. I mentioned briefly in another video the Gwen Stefani Bananas song. This stuff is bananas. And I don't know how many of you are Mandela affected or how many of you remember, but I was taught growing up that bananas was spelled different than it is now. If you spell it the way that I remember, old world, in your phone, it will spell check it and delete one of the N's. However, this woman made this song spelling it wrong, and then someone pointed out that it was not spelled that way, and I was like, you know what, you're right. And a month later, it is now. I mean, it is. From my perspective, I remember it being something different, and I still spell it that way. Is it not possible that the powers that be, whatever you want to call them, use that, cast it like a spell, and the people that actually hold this ability, innocently singing along with something being played on the radio over and over and over and over, and something was changed? So I don't want anyone to think that. I think that the manifesting your reality thing is a lie created by the enemy, but it's something that was taken from an ability that may be, it's not meant for us to understand. If this theory is correct, and it's just a theory, it's just something I'm brainstorming that won't have much to do with the story of the book at all. But if this theory is correct, and the power that we hold that we don't even realize, like God's allowing us to use in your creation, if you're walking with the Father and all that, and that story, if you've seen the Affected Collective thing with the Edgar Allan Poe, writing, but that's a horrible story. But I'm just saying, and what I'm trying to create in a fictional story, would it show it later on? Not like I'm creating it. It's like the way that she explains it is that they tapped into something that, oddly, she called it the cosmic conscience. I'm only saying that there's something that really stands out to me about just the bananas thing. That's simple. That something changed, and I'm seeing evidence that sticks out to me that way, at least from my perspective of when it changed, that could have something to do with it. And then having all these things come into my life, with the Mist thing, it was all on YouTube. As a matter of fact, I read the first book. It only takes 2 hours to read it, 2 hours and 16 minutes, if I remember correctly. I watched it from YouTube. I was going to read the second book. There was only 3 of them, because it's about the character that's building these worlds before all this evil stuff happens. And it wasn't there anymore. It's their old books. It wasn't a copyright thing. They just, the videos don't exist. It doesn't say copyright blocked. It wasn't in my history. It wasn't in the playlist that I made. They were gone, and that frustrated me. And because in the video I was saying you can just, you can go check it out. You'll grasp a greater concept of it. There was another reality breakdown that I wanted to mention, but I can't remember. The deja vu things happen on almost a weekly basis now, but I can't really explain to you what I think that is without ruining the ending of the book itself. I don't know. There was something else I wanted to share, but maybe it's not I don't know. Anyway, how are all of you? I have a tremendous amount of lag, and yeah, I'm just not used to the software. But I will say, like I said, a brother in Christ blessed me with this computer. There's no way I would have been able to do this on the little other thing that I had. It's more like a tablet. And then I told a pastor at work what I was trying to do and really walking through the concepts of it. Not only did he print me out a lot of info on Paul, but he gave me a printer. He knew I didn't have a printer. Now, I didn't manifest that. That's two men of God saying, I really like what you're doing and I want to help you out. But it's, I don't know. I thought I was going to be able to explain that whole thing a lot better. I'm not. What I'm trying to say is I think that we hold more power than we know. The moment that we say this is mine, everything is corrupted and is probably taken away, because there do seem to be people around me that have a better understanding of reality, but they need me to manipulate it for them. I will share the other thing. I don't care how weird this is. This isn't a deja vu thing. About 3 months ago, I went to work, and there's someone that I work with that had ringworms on the back of their legs. I haven't done a ton of research as to all the different ways you can get ringworms, but yeah. Anyway, the guy was just wiping down his legs with iodine, and he had them in certain spots. A month later, maybe a month and a half later, I wake up and I have a spot on the back of my leg. And then I look on the other leg and I notice I have another one, and another one above that one, in the exact same spots that they have. And so I go to work, I get the iodine, and I'm trying to kill this thing. And I'm researching, I'm seeing like cats, and Chop doesn't seem to have any, and I wear jeans all the time. Like my legs aren't exposed even whenever I'm outside. It's not that hot here yet. But he didn't have them anymore, and I haven't asked him, if he even remembered having them. But I've got this weird feeling, almost as if it not like a contagion. Like you're looking at a timeline thing, like, well, someone else had it, you were around him working with him. And my legs didn't touch it, and we're just mechanics, and the guy all of a sudden just didn't have him anymore. And then I woke up with him, and there's something that just stuck out to me. I know how crazy that sounds. I don't have words for it. I'm not going to get into some conspiracy about him like doing some hocus pocus and passing it off on to me. But there's details in that really stand out. That's just so anyway, I don't know if that makes sense, but there seems to be individuals that it's as if there's some of us that I don't know, they need to feed off of something that we're doing that we don't even realize that we're doing. Go back to the bananas example. I don't know how else to explain it, and I don't want to sound clove oil. I will have to check that out. I mean, they're gone. I finally killed them. It was actually more of a battle than I thought it would be, because I'm just like a ringworm. It should be easy to kill, and I had to fight that thing. But I think I'll get clove oil in case, and if it is true, and someone can somehow hocus pocus some magic onto somebody else. Either way, or I just come into contact with a ringworm. But I know it sounds like accidentally faith in it. Maybe, but I mean, if that were the case, I would just be like, Father, can you, and I didn't pray for him. Maybe next time. Thank you for sticking that out, because I give the glory to God. Like, it's not. I'm not saying in any of this like creation thing that it's our responsibility to create or to take or to change. Like it's our responsibility to love and to pray um, for others, and maybe all that happens so that God would be like every little minute detail in someone else's life, to pray without ceasing, pray for them, and to bless them. Um, but it was just weird, the transfer of a person having a small abnormality and then all of a sudden not having it, but then I wake up with it in the same spots. That's the weird thing. I mean, I remember the details, so but I sound like I'm contradicting myself, me saying that maybe we have a power that we don't realize, and then me saying, but it's like it's not meant to be like a conscious awareness of it. That's all I'm getting at. So, anyway, I'm getting nervous now because I've run out of stuff to talk about. I will say this. This is quite an endeavor. This story of Paul, and I was reading through just one chapter of Acts. I went to Wikipedia, which is not the best place to go to look for information on much of anything. But you can type in the characters of the Book of Acts and see the list in detail. And so I'm like, this is quite a feat to develop characters and character traits and to appoint them to different like modern cities for this time frame and be able to creatively disguise it so that the reader again is immersed into not realizing until they've already well vested in a book that oh, this is the story of Paul. And I was going through one chapter and I was like, just to develop just Barnabas, for example, to be able to figure out which city that he was from, and it's actually there's a lot of detail in this to make it historically correct or to make it go along with the theme of what I'm trying to do. So I was thinking maybe at a later date, maybe talking it over with a few other brothers that are a little bit more knowledgeable. I am looking for. I was blessed, like I said, with this manuscript I haven't read yet. But any information as far as to like a good like study something or any ideas from anyone or even someone just creatively saying, hey, this is how I've always envisioned this person. Paul, to me, is actually the easier character to develop, which I'll do later. I have to start with the ones that they might have just been mentioned once or twice in the Bible and find the information on them and then make it, modernize it, but still keep it correct. I can't say historically, like historically correct, but it's not going to be in the historical past. But this was the other thing I was thinking when I came to this idea. If there is nothing new under the sun, is it not possible that these stories could be being retold? Like, thank God Jesus doesn't have to do this over and over and over. Like, I'm not talking about that, but I'm just saying at certain points in my life, there were things that mimic parts of the Bible. And it was kind of weird how God was revealing it to me, like, right after I saw that. And so, can it be possible that some of these stories are sort of being retold, or there are things that are mimicking? Okay, I'm getting warnings. There are things that are mimicking, like stories in the Bible. So can y'all see me all right? Because I'm getting warnings, but I don't know how to fix it. Right. And I think so too. That's the one. When I was really thinking of that concept, I was like, man, that would be neat to just do it for different stories. And now, obviously, if a person knew what I was doing, which most of you do now, it won't be a surprise to you. But I want to disguise it so that if someone picked it up, it would kind of be a blessing in disguise because they got introduced to these characters. They liked the way it was written, and they enjoyed the story, and then they realized what it was about. So they're not, completely. Thank you, Dustin. They're not completely just turned. There are many people that hear Jesus and they run, and so what I'm trying to do is to connect it with someone that may not actually want to even hear a story like Paul's, and it plays like a movie in my head. Maybe I'll get into the details later as I'm brainstorming and changing things up, but it just allows me to I don't know, when I guess my initial point, and I think I did a bad job of explaining it, but the way my imagination does work, and I'm seeing this play out in the details of how it would work in this day and age, as if it just happened, because what is time? We're taught that it's in a linear thing, but I don't. I mean, we see it linearly, so it does happen day to day, but I think that there are also connections where it's not chaos, but it doesn't necessarily only move linearly. And as I'm going through this, like the mist thing pops up, and then the affected collective. Like I said, I meant to use a 30-second clip, maybe 2 minutes, about just Edgar Allan Poe and the guys that wrote about the Titanic before it sank. And I went to watch it. I enjoy her content, and I went to watch the rest of it. And when she got into Philip K. Dick, the rest of it is about the Book of Acts, and so it's not like I'm saying that I'm gonna write a book and it's gonna happen. That's not. There's something with the spirit that allowed men to tap into something and to write about it. Unfortunately, the Edgar Allan Poe thing and the other two gentlemen was something very tragic. One of them lost their life. The Philip K. Dick thing, he wrote about the story of, I believe it was Philip and other portions in the Book of Acts, and he did not realize it. As a matter of fact, it made a priest mad, because he was like, this is a story of, and the writer's name was Philip, and then there were other men. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I'm just saying that there's more to this than me just imagining it, and just thinking this up. And I didn't come up with this on my own. I feel like God is trying to reveal something to me. With the bananas thing, we're more powerful than we know, but it's not made to make your own thing. That's not it. I honestly think that belief system was taking. Sorry. I believe that belief system was taken from a spirit that already knew the power that these little people, these little children of God had, but it wanted to corrupt it. That's all that I'm saying. My only point that I'm trying to make is that if we are more powerful than we know, it's quite possible that we have been doing something the whole time in relationship with the Creator, or that just unknowingly there's something, almost like when you dream, you create the dream, and you don't realize it. It's like, if taking the step set before you, right. So I don't want it to be mixed up and think that it's something like this. You can't. If I could create my own reality, I would have found the woman that I've been talking about since I shared the information and those stories about her, and you know what I'm saying. So it's not like you just make it and it just poof, it happens. But oh my God. Anyway, so look, I'm about to sign off, but I'm about to choke my dog out. Is bananas but without butter, right? Banana butter. Yeah. I mean, at least anyway. I didn't know whether to get up and bring him in because he's probably chasing squirrels again, or to just sign. Anyway, look, I wanted to share that. I don't know if I explained it in the best way. There's been something that God has been revealing to me. I went to make that video, and I made it to a point, and it kind of started to fall apart. There wasn't an ending to it. I'm sure I will finish editing it and put it out. But there's my only point is encouragement. I like God's revealing something to me about myself, and I think that it's to use it for His glory. Like it's not anything for me. Like it's not about me. As a matter of fact, okay, let's say for instance, if I were to write something and it did have there, I don't even think that I would possibly ever see the evidence of that. It's not about it. It's too. If I'm just saying, if we're made in His image, we're more powerful, and we know that. I don't know if that's possible. I you know, but He's revealing things to me, and I think that whole New Age, you're your own God thing is a corrupted version of something that we may have the power of, but not meant for us to take it and use it for our own glory. But that's where the idea comes from the adversary. You see what I'm saying? So yeah. Yeah, I hope it made sense, and I guess I don't know. These live stream things always trouble me because I can't edit out and actually state in better words what I was trying to say. So, oh no, I understand, Dusty. I know what you meant. And yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna sign off. I hope y'all got something out of it, and I'm sure I'll share once I actually start putting the pieces together. But whatever power that we do hold that we may or may not understand, it is to be used for the glory of the Father. And once it turns into the pride of it, then the fall comes. So I don't know. I hope that made sense to everybody. And y'all have a wonderful evening. I hope I'll get better with these live streams and understanding all this. All right, God bless. Bye bye. Yeah.